Hello, teammates, and welcome to The Goal Diggers, a program where we discuss stories of leadership and motivation with sports serving as a metaphor dedicated to daily grinders, corporate athletes, and go getters. This is Simone Haldon digging in with my co hosts Reddy San Agustin, Robbie De Vera, and Doc Shoves D. And we are your resident goal diggers. In the previous episode, we had a conversation with the country's favorite taekwondo couple, Denise and Japoy Lizardo, who shared with us 3 tips that has helped them in their parenting journey so far. Their first tip is be intentional in the approach. When raising their kids, who are 4 and 1 year old boys, the Lizardos shared that it helps to adjust the approach based on the age of their kids. Their second tip is to have a good support system. As parents, they work as a team in raising their children, and it has helped them to be surrounded by relatives and friends whom they can learn from. And as the old saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. And their third tip is get your family into sports because there's so much you can gain from it, like quality time with your loved ones, countless character building moments, and the great bonus of having an active lifestyle. So those are some really good practical advice from the Lizardos on how to raise a champion. And today we have another treat for you as we dig into the experience of another pair of athletic parents whose parenting journey we can also learn so much from. But before we delve into that, I wouldn't be able to do this without the help of my fellow goal diggers, Doc Jobs, Relly, and Robbie. What else can our teammates expect from this episode?
Good evening, everyone. So nice to be here again. I've been enjoying my stint here for many reasons, but mostly admiration for these parents within their parenting journey so far. And I have every reason to believe that tonight's episode will be as enriching as our first episode.
Thanks, Doc. Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Raising a Champion, brought to you by us, the Gold Diggers. Tonight, we have with us a special couple who once played for the Ateneo Blue Eagles, one being part of the school's four-peat achievement in UAAP men's basketball, and the other a player and coach for the Ateneo women's football team and the Malditas. I will say no more, but please do stick around as we listen to these former athletes share their story of family life and raising 4 kids abroad. Robbie, who do we have tonight?
Thanks, Rails. Hey, teammates, we're excited to have you on board for our second installment of our Raising a Champion series, with special thanks, of course, to Milo, and most especially to our next guests. They're fellow gold diggers for sure, and familiar names in sports, particularly in the field of basketball and football. So this evening, we're very privileged to have our very good friends Kirk Long and Tata Garcia-Long on our program. So please stay tuned as we dig into their parenting journey. Let's formally welcome them on board, Sim.
Thanks, guys. So today we have with us another couple who have both made a mark in their respective sports as athletes and continue to do so as coaches. Christina, or Tata as most people call her, played for the Ateneo de Manila women's football team from 2004 to 2009 and was an assistant coach for the same team from 2009 to 2012. She played for the Philippine women's football team from 2010 to 2011 and was also a UAAP football commentator for ABS-CBN Sports in Action. She's also part of the Nike Training Club and is one of their football coaches. After coaching in Ateneo, she became the head coach of the Brent International School Junior Varsity. Then she became the head coach for St. Paul Girls Varsity team and the physical education teacher when they moved to Guam, and is now the head coach for the Morrison Academy Girls Junior Varsity in Taiwan, where they are currently residing. Kirk, on the other hand, was part of the legendary Ateneo Blue Eagles 4-peat team. He also played in the PBA D-League for 3 years with the NLEX Road Warriors and the Happy Fresh Fighters. He was also an ABS-CBN commentator for basketball, baseball, and volleyball, and began his own basketball school called Dream Big Basketball. He also coached in St. Paul, Guam, and is now teaching health and physical education and is now coaching the girls basketball varsity at the Morrison Academy in Taiwan. And so it's clear that sports plays a big role in the lives of this power couple, And today we're going to learn more about the role of sports in their parenting journey, raising four lovely daughters. We're very grateful to have you here with us today. Let's all welcome Tata and Kirk Long.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us here in your show. We really appreciate having you invite us. This is a great show that I've been following and have learned so much from, and I'm excited to share our story with you all as well.
Yeah, definitely great to be here. I've always enjoyed sharing my passions for sports, but definitely now in this stage of my life, my passion for parenting is a big part of that, and they go hand in hand together. So excited to share some of my failures and successes and with all of you. So thanks for having us.
Thank you for that. We're definitely looking forward to learn more from you today. And of course, it's nice to have you here, especially after you guys. Kata just gave birth a month ago, and you guys are taking care of your daughter who's barely a month. So in its early stages of parenting a newborn, I'm sure it's very it's very hectic. So we really appreciate you being here tonight. But let's other than that, I mean, we'd like to know also what have you guys been up to lately, especially since the start of the pandemic.
Yeah, being in Taiwan has been a big blessing. We're not very far from where it all started in a way, being in Taiwan. Yet Taiwan has been preparing for a time like this, and it's definitely shown. We had a couple weeks of online learning where we were sort of more on lockdown, and I was doing teaching and work from home, and our oldest daughter, who was in kindergarten, stayed home and studied here in the house. But besides those 2 weeks, because of the quarantine periods that people have had since early on, the spread of COVID in Taiwan has been very limited, mainly just people flying in from abroad and figuring out they have COVID while in quarantine. So it's definitely been a big blessing to be here. Yet it still has had its challenges of keeping us here and not allowing us to travel home to the Philippines or to the US to visit family members and loved ones, and even having loved ones pass away in the last year and not being able to be there to grieve or to see family during that process.
I'm sorry to hear that, though. I mean, losing some loved ones, especially being so far away from that.
It's definitely been a reality. The distance, it's something that I personally am trying to learn how to cope with. So I think as compared to everybody else who has been on lockdown for a much longer time, something my children have had to adjust was seeing relatives through a screen so regularly that in a sense it's almost like we as parents have to make it so frequent so they won't forget their lolo and lola type of thing, and at the same time they don't understand like why they can't go home. So it's really been a struggle on our end, not necessarily being afraid to get COVID, but actually just losing touch with family.
I understand that the situation there is a lot better, right? Because I'm sure you know that kids here haven't like seen like their friends outdoors, right? But in your case, they get to go to school physically, right? So what is it like?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a blessing, and in a way, we don't understand what is happening in the Philippines or in the U.S. where some of my family is. There are parts of this that we can't necessarily relate to what some other families are going through, and I want to say I understand. Yet at the same time, when you're not there and you haven't been locked in a house for countless months, then
there's only so little.
We can't quite understand and grasp completely, and neither can our kids, who are blessed with, we live inside a school campus, and my kids can go outside to the soccer field, the playground, and I can watch them from the balcony. Like there's that much freedom and safety here where we're at, and within the walls of the campus where we live. So definitely some things. We are going to try to travel to the US this summer and see my parents, who I haven't seen for 3 years. So
Wow.
there will be some learning moments and some adjustments to what we have to do, what we've had to do regularly when we travel and we're exposed and we're, flying into cities that are still struggling with the spread of COVID. So it's coming, but so far we've been away from a lot of it.
Good to hear that, guys, because it's really taking a toll on the anxiety issues of the kids university. So I really commend on how Taiwan or Singapore, are able to open up their country and to make it normal again for our kids, most especially.
Thanks, guys. So yeah, maybe to get the ball rolling, let's bring the audience up to speed and remind them on your respective roots, right? So, can you tell us about how you both began your respective sports journeys?
Yeah, well, I moved to the Philippines when I was 2 years old, right before I turned 3. And my dad thought that his basketball career, because my dad played college basketball in the US, he thought his basketball playing days were over. Because when we moved to the Philippines, that was his first time there, and he didn't understand or have knowledge of the country's passion for basketball. So early on in life, I saw my dad in the Philippines be able to play basketball games. He would go to different barangays and travel to different towns, and him and other people from our church and school would go and encourage the barangays through a friendship basketball game with the city selection teams or the town selection teams, and they would share their lives, and they would meet Filipinos through sports. That was a fun passion that both of them, my dad and the country of the Philippines shared. So early on, I was able to go on those trips with my dad and see his passion for the game and see the country's passion for the game, from all over Negros to all over Mindanao. There were just a lot of opportunities for me to see the beautiful country of the Philippines and their passion for sports. So that's where I really developed my love and ability for basketball. Was as I started getting older, I got more and more minutes on those trips and in those friendship games. And, I was 12, 13 years old and playing against grown men for 20 games during the summer. And I learned how to get quicker and be stronger and grow up faster and develop the fundamentals to play at a higher level for my age. And that gave me the confidence as I continued through high school and college to play basketball at a high level. But I was thankful that growing up, my dad didn't just limit it to basketball. He wanted me to experience as much as I could and enjoy as much as I could. So my first sport that I played competitively when I was 5 years old was baseball. And I got to travel to Australia, Singapore, Thailand, all for the Philippine national baseball team growing up. And so I moved away from baseball a little bit in high school, but when I got to college, the reason that I played baseball was because my oldest friends in the Philippines were my T-ball, my baseball teammates, and they were also at Ateneo, and they told me, Kirk, you have to come back and play with us. And those friendships, were special to me. And even though it was hard to balance both basketball and baseball, because of them, I wanted to give it my best shot and enjoy that sport as well. So I'm thankful that I got exposed to both basketball and baseball early on through my parents and through friendships and opportunities in the Philippines. And then I always dreamed of playing college basketball in the States. Growing up in the Philippines, I understood a little bit through Paul Tanchi, a good friend of ours and another Faith Academy graduate, staying at Ateneo to play. I just didn't know what type of opportunities there was for me as a foreigner to stay in the Philippines. But when Norman Black noticed me through playing in Metro Manila Basketball League, and he came and started recruiting and telling me about the opportunity to stay in the Philippines, I really started to look at that more. And him being my coach was a big reason I was willing to stay and try it out that first year of college. And obviously it didn't take very long for me to enjoy the incredible atmosphere that the UAP has to offer for basketball, the opportunities that MVP and and the Ateneo alumni gave us to travel and to train at some of the best facilities worldwide. And, you know, the competition in the Philippines, also the college level, is a great challenge for me, where I was able to continue to grow and increase my skills and knowledge of the game. So I felt blessed to be able to stay at Ateneo for 5 years, winning 4 championships. It was a very fun ride and unique opportunity for an American kid, Canadian kid, doesn't matter where you're from. UAAP basketball is very special. And I ended up being able to play 3 more years in the PBA D League. I played a lot more basketball in my life than I ever dreamed. Being able to play and earn a living and provide for myself and for my wife and my kid early on was a special treat. To do something that I loved and was passionate about for a career is a huge blessing. And those learning experiences and those teammates that I had, because playing against guys from FEU and LaSalle was special, but then being able to be teammates with guys from so many different colleges and from the NCAA was a special treat too, to understand and go deeper into the Philippine culture, and all of that was special.
I started actually with ballet. That was something, a part of my life for 11 years. So as young as I could remember, 3.5 years old, I started ballet up until before I turned 15 or 15 years old. It came to a point where it got too serious for a teenager. I felt like I had Monday, Wednesday, Fridays traveling 45 minutes to Rojas Boulevard to practice ballet. And then I started feeling like it was taking so much of my youth, or it just got a bit too serious, like apprentice level. And then so I started not enjoying it so much. And my best friend, Jel, she actually said, why don't you give soccer a chance? And knowing about soccer through my brothers, knowing about the sport through cousins, and, you know, just being around boys a lot, I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot. So I actually started football pretty late in life. I was 14, 15 years old. And I started playing not for school, but just in San Lorenzo Village, like at the park, and played against boys. And I felt like that really started that flame or that fire for the sport, where I got to play it with people who really just enjoyed it. So that's where my football life began. And I think the reason why I was very much interested in this sport is because I was around people who, like my brothers and my cousins and friends, who really enjoyed it. And that example and just being exposed to them allowed me to enjoy it as well. So yun, I started pretty late actually in my sports life. So I would say middle school onwards. But I am super thankful for like just my best friend telling me, hey, why don't you try this out? And because I fell in love with the sport instantly. From then on, I played in high school. I played for MFS, and then I didn't quite actually make it to Ateneo, like the entrance exam, but because I played the sport, I was able to appeal and actually work my way through that. But the deal breaker there was, in order to stay in Ateneo or to play the sport, I had to pass subjects, obviously, right? So in a way, I am so thankful for football because it allowed me to also step up academically. So that started my journey, also being able to balance sports and academics. And I'm, again, so thankful for the sport because it allowed me to also get a good education. After which I was asked to help coach. So after college, I was able to help coach for the team that I was a part of after my 5 years. And during my coaching stint, my previous coach, Coach Karen, actually said, hey, do you want to apply for a PE teaching job at this school? So alongside my coaching stint, I was also a PE teacher. And that really began, I feel like, more opportunities for me in the coaching world because I was able to not only teach, but I was able to coach the respective schools that I was a part of. So yeah, that was already the start of my coaching stint in different schools. And Yeah, I didn't get as much exposure and no championships like my husband, but I feel like just the experience itself was so rich, and I'm forever grateful for just being a part of all the teams that I was a part of.
Love the journey both of you guys took in terms of, playing for the alma mater. And yeah, having to see Kirk win 4 championships, we all had to witness that. And I'm sure, Tata, you also had your accomplishments as a coach and playing for the Malditas. That's something to be proud of, right? And for all the viewers to know. But I want to ask you guys, each of you, has there been an impactful memory that you've experienced in your respective sport, like one particular challenge that really broke you, and pretty much, but at the end of the day, you were still able to get through it, and here you guys are now.
A defining moment for me is I feel like a lot of times in life we learn the most through our failures or with our losses. And my freshman year of college, my rookie season, I had just come from a high school experience where I had won championships in Japan for our Far East tournament that Faith Academy is a part of my sophomore, junior, senior year. So I was blessed to have good teammates in high school as well, and a good coach, and come from a winning program. So my freshman year of college, I wasn't used to not having success. And the defining moment for me, sort of in my basketball career, was sitting at home on my sofa and witnessing LaSalle host, raise up the championship trophy in season 70 of my first year in the UAP. And I had so much emotion, frustration, anger, regret on, how I performed, how our team performed down the stretch, because we had beaten LaSalle 3 times that year, but they had beaten us when it mattered most. And, the UAP finals is a special atmosphere. And I was sitting at home watching it on TV. And I sort of just made a promise to myself that I was going to do everything I possibly could to make sure that the next season, I wouldn't be at home watching the UAP finals, but that our team would be playing in those games. And, one thing led to another, and our team continued to grow and sacrifice more. And I understood more the commitment and the communication and the hard work that needed to be done at the next level of college sports. And so it was really the loss my freshman season that drove me to just dive deeper into my love for the sport of basketball and the commitment level that I needed to take and my teammates needed to take to win. And so winning was always special. But when I look back at my career and when did I learn the most, and what stands out is it was the losing that helped me to grow into the player that, I eventually became.
Mine isn't so much one specific event. I feel like after playing for 5 years in Ateneo and not winning a single championship, I think I was able to bring that somewhere and learn from it. It was definitely painful and sad. You wake up every day for 7 years, I guess, because I continued to coach the same team. Imagine waking up 5 a.m. or 4:45 for 7 years of your life and no championship. I mean, that's painful, right? But then you move on, you learn, and you find triumphs in other, in small things. I told myself, I want to help others experience not the loss, but just how amazing it is to just be a part of a team, because there's so much that you take from that. So as I coached, I was able to not just coach people who were privileged, but I was able to introduce the sport to people who've never had an opportunity to play any sport. Kirk's sister, her name's Josie, started a home late 2000s, and I was able to start a little program with the girls that she had. And we actually started with no shoes because we didn't have enough football shoes to provide for everybody. I even put it on Facebook, and I think maybe some of you even helped me out back then. That was like 11 years ago. And I said, if anybody wants to donate old shoes, could you please give us some? And so we started a good one month with them having no shoes. But anyway, moving forward, I was able to teach these girls how to play football, and we used Ateneo. They were so gracious with allowing us to use their field, just one corner. And I knew that they might not be able to play in a big arena, or a big or a, how would you say it? The same level as I did, or the same level as other people would aspire to play, but just exposing them to it already was such a big deal for them, and it actually uplifted them in so many ways. But the coolest part about being able to coach these girls is one or two of them actually was talented enough to be picked to represent the Philippines for a Street Child World Cup in Brazil, and that was back in 2014. And one out of the two were able to go because they already had a goalkeeper, and the other one was a goalkeeper. And then she made it. This girl never played football in her life. She made it to the finals, and she even scored a goal in the championship game. I mean, Brazil won, but that alone was already such like a triumph in my life, to be able to witness and be a part of that girls' championship. You know what I mean? She didn't win it, but she was able to reach out farther than any of us, even in this chat room, had ever reached, right? So I felt like that made a huge impact in my life, and how I was able to use my failures to make sure and to learn from them, and to be able to use the beauty of the sport to make others have an opportunity in life to experience something. I think that alone was, so impactful.
What you've shared with us so far about the challenges and how you dealt with them gives us a glimpse already of how your mindset is. I personally know Coach Tata, actually. By default, that's really how I call her because I was able to reach her when she was the assistant coach in Ateneo de Manila. And during her time there, also she made sure to go out of her way and even have Bible study with us. And I really appreciated it during those times. And colleges can be pretty tough, so it was nice to have that kind of support. And of course, I got to witness also Kirk when he was still playing back with the Blue Eagles, and to see his hard work on the court. I mean, now palang, it's interesting for me to see how it's like also for them at home, and how they're raising their four daughters. So I mean, you guys have four children now, and you have your 7-year-old Kalia, 5-year-old Care, 3-year-old Coco, and Kiana, who's barely a month. How is the parenting journey so far for you guys?
When I think about parenting, I think of, especially with my 4 daughters now and even 3 daughters, there's a meme, a Jurassic Park meme where it sort of talks about how parenting is a walk in the park, and then it says Jurassic Park. So definitely there's days where parenting is the most challenging, difficult thing that I've ever been a part of. Yet, unlike probably walking amongst dinosaurs, I feel that maybe that's rewarding. I don't know. I've never done it, but seeing my kids grow up and learn has also been one of the richest and most rewarding experiences that I've been a part of. I've won championships. I've worked hard for that, but being able to teach them life lessons and discipline and how to love others and be kind and patient and how to share. That's been really rewarding, and it's been a fun challenge for me. I love not backing down from a challenge, and my kids wake up every day and they love me and they hug me and kiss me, but they also challenge me in so many different ways, and I enjoy that challenge, and I enjoy getting help from others and learning from others on how to do that. And I'm lucky to have parents that have modeled that in a good way, and people that are praying for me and giving me advice, and so yeah, I've enjoyed it very much.
I would say on my end that it's really a team effort. My mom, every time she finds out I'm pregnant, because it's been quite often, she says, "How do you do it?" And I said, because of him. I wasn't raised the way Kirk grew up, where it really was a team effort between his mom and his dad and siblings. I had a yaya, but even in households with helpers, I feel like you also have to have that team effort, because if you're not in coordination with your help and your husband and your spouse, there really will be chaos all the time. So back to what I said, it's really teamwork. I feel like that's how I would describe parenting for children. At the end of the day, like now that I'm coaching, we made sure, by the way, that whenever he coaches, I'm not coaching, and then whenever I'm coaching, he's not taking part in coaching as well. It's almost like a rule in our house where bawal sabay. But sometimes he subs. He coaches today the same time I coach today. So we come home after getting all our kids in bed, we look at each other and we're just like, boom. It's like, how do we do this? We're doing too much and it's unfair to our children. And then we take a step back and he's like, it's okay. All right, we're going to handle this. We just have to breathe, or I'll make sure I don't coach again tomorrow. So it's really like teamwork and constant communication to make parenting this many children work.
You guys have been transferring for the past how many years? You guys moved to Guam and then just recently, just sometime last year, right? Or earlier, you moved to Taiwan. So I mean, how's the transition like? Also moving from country to country.
Yeah, this is almost our third year actually in Taiwan. So we were in Guam for 3 years, now here for almost 3 years. Growing up, used to transition myself, being a missionary kid, and my parents moving from the US when I was young, and us having to travel back every 4 or 5 years to live in the US to see family and visit churches. Transition's a part of it. And I think early on in our parenting, one style we have is, we can't adjust everything in our life to our kids. Sometimes we've been intentional about raising our kids to, to sort of be exposed to not tougher environments, but, not situations aren't always going to be easy. Sometimes we have to sacrifice and sleep in the airplanes or sleep in the car, or, move and say hard goodbyes to relationships that matter, and focus on building new relationships in a new life somewhere else. And so I think our kids have gone through a lot of adversity in that travel and being away from the Philippines where our family is, and leaving Guam to come to Taiwan to try a new life here. And that comes with new challenges, but I'm not afraid to put my kids in that adversity, because kids are pretty resilient, and they've been able to manage fine. And as long as we stick together and communicate and share our feelings and encourage each other through those trying times when it is difficult, then I think that's helped to make them stronger.
Well, do you have a specific mindset or way that you follow when it comes to raising your kids?
Yeah, I would boil it down to helping them realize that working hard is very important in life. So whether it's like right now we have a 7-year-old, and like, for example, she struggles in reading or whatnot. It's almost like we constantly have to encourage, just continue to work hard, continue to practice, and it'll all pay off, And so that's one, work hard or practice and do your best, and it will pay off and it'll be worth it. So that's like one thing that we constantly have been hearing ourselves say in the recent years. Now, I wish we had a little mantra or mission and vision, but I think as each kid is in such different stages, I feel like it changes with every child. It's like we can't really apply that to our 1-year or 2-year-olds just yet, So I wouldn't really box it up. But currently, that has been a go-to thing in raising our kids, to work hard, to practice, and it'll all be worth it.
I think real quick, just, letting them know that their value isn't in their achievements, and that, we love them no matter what, even when they fail, we love them, or they don't win at something, or they're not the best. And so just showing them that their worth isn't in, or their value isn't in their achievements in the end, but, we're going to love them no matter what. And it's important that we just ask them to do their best. they're going to make mistakes. They're going to fight with their siblings. They're not going to get 10 out of 10 on every homework assignment, but we just want them to do their best.
I love what you've shared so far on being intentional, and especially on values, especially on working hard, and also on you don't the value isn't in their achievements, but also their work ethic. So, and you Tata also mentioned about dealing with them in terms of, because they're all in different age levels already. So based on that, I mean, your daughters are about 2 years apart, and I'm sure like each of them has their own unique personalities. I mean, especially the older three girls, whose personalities are much more apparent at given their age. But tell us more about your interactions with each of them. How are they like?
So our eldest, for example, she is very goal oriented. Okay, so we have to deal with that personality, where we have to almost prepare her for certain things that will happen along the way, because she's not the type to adjust to certain turns and curves before the goal happens. So sometimes we have to tell her, since she was little, we always have to tell her ahead of time, okay, Kalia, someone's gonna come before this happens, or stuff like that. Then our second is more carefree, not goal-oriented, very sensitive, and very emotional, and will really feel what you're feeling. Does not care about the end goal, cares more about the journey type of person. And then our 2-year-old is our little dramatista, or how would you say it? Very imaginative, colorful, creative, and so independent. And I think that comes with being before this new one came, she was the youngest, and she was the only one at home for the past 3 years. So as I face each one of those personalities, you also have to care for them differently, right? Like I have to know that my eldest does not like things touched. At the end of the day, she's gonna make sure her sisters didn't enter her room and stuff like that. And I have to be, okay, guys, we have to be sensitive to how Kalia is, our eldest. And then the second, how would you say?
She just wants someone to play with all the time. Kara, our 5-year-old, always wants to play with her big sister. And sometimes when her big sister doesn't want to go and play Barbies or Legos, then, that hurts her feelings and she doesn't understand. So having conversations with her to let her know, Kalia loves you, but, Kalia needs her own space sometimes too, just to help her process that, Kalia doesn't hate you by not playing with you. She does love you, but she just wants her own time and to do her own things at some points.
Yeah, so I think you get the picture of basically every child has different needs, and they're not made the exact same way, and they're not made like us. So I have my own way of how I would deal with things, and I have to realize, nope, I have to understand and listen how she deals with things. And that's a very difficult thing. We were talking recently, last night lang, I heard it at a podcast. The hardest thing I think about being a parent and a spouse is you have to let go of your own personal ways. You almost have to be so selfless to understand either your spouse or your children. So,
and I can only imagine it's gonna change the older they get. Even, I mean, how they are now will obviously change as they grow older, and of course get to know themselves better. But I'm also curious. I mean, has any of them started playing sports? And I'd like to know, how are they finding the experience so far?
Yeah, one of the funnest things about living here on campus is our school has a swimming pool. So last summer, when we would have loved to have been visiting the Philippines, seeing family, we were still here in Taiwan, and we spent almost every day or every other day going to the pool for an hour or two. And so, I had one daughter who was still 3 at the time, almost 4 during the summer. And our oldest was 5, almost 6. And so they both became, not only knew how to swim, but they were very comfortable diving down under the water, going to the bottom of the pool, picking up things. So at the start of the swimming team season, a few months after the summer, there was a community swim meet, which is open to anyone in the area that wants to compete against the swim team in their first swim matches. And they have one race during that time for elementary students. So my first grade daughter was excited. She wanted to do this for the first time. And then anything that my oldest daughter does, my second daughter wants to do. She's not even in kindergarten yet. She's not in school. So I almost had to get, special permission. Is it okay if my second daughter also wants to join the race for the elementary students? And the swim coach said, can she swim 25 meters? That's the length of the pool. That's the length of the race. And I said, yeah, she's been able to do that. And so, my 4-year-old and my 6-year-old are in there competing against 8 and 9-year-olds, and they didn't win the race, but just competing in the race and just to have the ability to face the fear of lining up across from older kids in the swimming pool and waiting for them to say go. And then there's 100, 200 people around the swimming pool watching the races happen. And, they had the confidence to jump in the water. And even though they got tired after 15, 20 meters and slow down a little bit, they had the strength to finish the race. And so seeing them and learn from that experience and have joy, and it wasn't about winning, it was having fun, doing your best, taking part. That brought both of us a lot of joy, and we loved sending the videos to our parents and their it was just fun to share with families. So that was their fun first athletic moment together.
And every time Kirk coaches basketball, they're along the side, not doing anything competitive, but then they constantly get eager to also play basketball. And then when I'm coaching, like right now, you see my eldest and my older two also eager to play. So they do their little skills on the side.
When it comes to trying out new things, how do they usually handle the experience of the intimidation of starting something new, and how do you process it with them?
If I could share a short story, before they were old enough to really try sports, you're usually 3.5 above. They were exposed to watching Kirk play basketball, even just here in the gym. And every time I'd put them to bed, my eldest would say, let me know if Dada won or lost. And, obviously sometimes he loses. And that was the beginning of our opportunity to share it's okay to fail. Because she would cry whenever, he goes, okay, tell me if Dada won or lost. Okay, so I'd get a text and Kirk will say he lost or something. And I'd say, Kalia, sorry, Dada lost. And then she'd cry. And then we use those opportunities as teaching moments. And then because of that, their exposure to sports, not exactly experiencing it, but because of seeing it, I think we were able to prepare them. Now, they're not 100% prepared, but then it was able to kind of warm them up into trying things because they saw us try it ahead of them.
Earlier, you actually shared with us on the importance of finishing what you started. Would you be able to give us some examples on situations why you had to have this teaching moment with your children and share with them the importance of finishing what you started?
Yeah, I think one example is last summer, I was in charge of a summer camp and I partnered with some of my co-teachers, and I was in charge of the basketball camp. And you could sign up for the basketball camp, or you could sign up for the regular day camp where they did science experiments and made crafts and did a lot of different activities. And on the second day is when my daughter Kalia realized, oh, this week I'm in the basketball camp, but a lot of my good friends are in the other camp. And there was going to be 2 weeks of camp. So she was going to do 1 week of basketball and 1 week of the other camp. But on that second day, when she realized she wasn't with her friends that week, she said, Dada, I want to go to the other camp. And I said, Kalia, you've worked hard the last 2 days and you've had fun. You've enjoyed it when you're there. And now you want to switch mainly just because you want to be with your friends. But that wouldn't be a good sign to all your other classmates and teammates who are doing the basketball. So I said, I need you to stick it out for 3 more days of basketball and you can be a part of that other camp next week. And, there was some frustration there because she wanted to be with her friends. But at the same time, she was still able to overcome that and have a good attitude and still work hard in basketball camp. And I tried to praise her a lot for that, saying, I appreciated that even though she wanted to be with her friends, she finished with, what she started. And the second lesson would be soccer. We've helped coach kindergarten and first grade soccer here together, and there's been times where some of the girls in her class that she enjoys being with are over at the playground, and she's in soccer practice with the classmates that have signed up. And she normally is excited to do it, but there's times where she wants to be over on the playground with some of the friends who also stayed after school. Daddy, can I go play with my friends? I was like, well, Kalia, you said at the start of the season you wanted to do soccer classes, and it's only 8 classes, but you need to finish those 8 classes that you signed up for. And, so just sometimes she doesn't always have the enjoyment, or sometimes her passion or her excitement for life wants to take her other places, but just teaching her that commitment and discipline to stick with it, and the importance of your teammates are counting on you, your coach is counting on you, has been good teaching opportunities so far.
And on that note, I think it's also very important to know your children, so that even before you enroll them in something, you already have or know their personalities. Like, can she handle this structure? Can she handle the way this coach is, or, all those kinds of examples. It helps us as parents assess, okay, are we gonna commit to these next 8 weeks? Can our child handle it? So asking yourself those questions and challenging yourself to really know your children on a deeper level, not just, oh, she just likes soccer, she likes basketball. But no, their personality really plays a huge impact whether they will stick to something or not. So as parents, we also have that responsibility.
Right. So I, for one, would like to praise the parenting style that, you're actually doing, because I feel that you're able to maintain high demandingness equally with high responsiveness. So just to define, when we say demandingness, it refers to the extent you want to control your children's behavior or demand their maturity. While on the other hand, when you say responsiveness, it's the degree wherein you are very accepting and sensitive to your child's emotional and developmental needs. As a matter of fact, back in the 60s, there's this psychologist, Diana Baumrind. She posited 4 types of parenting, and those 4 being authoritarian, uninvolved, authoritative, and permissive. Okay, so just shortly, authoritarian, these are the do what I say. So parenting, when we say permissive, even if they make rules, they don't get to follow them because they want their children to be happy. So even if their children don't follow, like, it's okay with them. Okay. Now, on the other hand, for those uninvolved parents, as the name implies, they're very uninvolved. They don't care. But in your case, you're very authoritative in the sense that there's both high demandingness and responsiveness. And it is actually considered by experts as the best style of parenting, which I can see what you're doing. So you notice how you tend to be affectionate and still supportive. You're very responsive to your children's emotional needs. So you actually listen, and you mentioned that it depends on their developmental age. Then you actually have different types of parenting, but at the same time, you still manage to have high standards. So you don't compromise them. So notice how it is important for you guys to. You mentioned that it's really important they have to finish something that they have started, and as long as they do their best, even when they are struggling, that's okay, as long as they're doing their best. So in a way, you are encouraging them to be resilient. And I like it that you're both so open-minded and collaborative. Like you always mention teamwork, right? So you tend to have open communication. You try to explain to your kids how is it like. So, and they say that this parenting style will actually produce the best outcomes in terms of children, because they said that these children from those parents who are authoritative children are more independent, more active, more likely to develop better good self-esteem, and then better mental health as well. So see, it's really the relationship that you are building with your children is like will ensure a better, I believe, psychological health in the future.
That's very nice to hear and encouraging. So I appreciate that a lot. And I think it's just by God's grace that He's had people show us and be examples for us, and very encouraging. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Doc. And yeah, that's great, Tata and Kirk. So what I got from that initial discussion is, the value that you put in responsive parenting, and that you put that parenting is actually a team effort with your in your example, and what you value most especially is the effort, especially in finishing what they started, right? So super great stuff so far. But I want to take it closer to the unique position that you guys play as coaches and parents. So when it comes to parenting, so how would you say how that is important to you now, as coaches? How is that important, and how do you bring that home?
Personally, I feel like we really have that opportunity to walk our talk as coaches, not only on the field, in my personal experience of being a soccer coach, but bringing it home and applying what I've actually taught my students and applying it to people closer to my heart, right? My children are very young still, so I also have to alter my expectations because I coach high schoolers, and then when I come home they're so much younger, and having to adjust to that age group is something I find very challenging. But at the same time, because of how he was raised and because of his experience coaching all levels, again, we're able to bring back that teamwork aspect to our home. And I think the significance of being a coach and bringing it to the house has helped us as parents really even use examples where our kids can actually visualize what we're trying to say. Because we'll say, what example can I use? When one of our kids want to give up doing something quite difficult at home, whether it's a chore or give up on being kind to their sibling, we actually say an example of like, did you see that game we just had yesterday? And we almost lost, but then they played really hard and they won afterwards, and that they felt so good about it. And when they're able to visualize the values we're trying to teach them at home because of sports, it becomes easier, because I feel like to see is to believe type of thing, right? And so they'll ask, so I guess it feels good even if you're losing, but then you try your best and you know that you've tried your best, because they're able to see it on the pitch, right? And they see my players still come off a losing game happy. It's because, I mean, of course it sucks to lose, but then happy because they've tried their best and they're able to visualize that. And so when we use examples and they're able to see our work come into play at home, it becomes quite handy, if I were to say.
I would say for me, Robbie, two things stand out that translate from both coaching to parenting. And one is just setting and reaching goals. We start the season every year. We have goals for our season, and whether that's how many games we want to win or how many points we want to give up to the other team. And we also set goals as a family. We want to use kind words. We want to encourage one another. We want to share, and so setting goals for kids, when I see their weakness, I tell them, hey, I would like you to see Kalia for the next week, not have any arguments over who gets to play longer on the trampoline or who gets to play longer with a certain toy, so giving them goals to strive for, I think is important, constantly just challenging the kids. Another one would be communication. Any good coach, you can have the greatest game plan and the greatest strategy, but if you don't communicate well what you want to see out on the court or the field, if you can't communicate that with your players, then that strategy is not going to work. And same thing happens in the home. If I don't take the time to make sure my kids understand how they need to treat other people, how they need to treat each other, how they need to respond to their mother when she asks them to do something. If that's not communicated clearly, the expectations that we have for them, then they're not going to be able to honor us or respect us, because they just simply don't understand how they're supposed to act or what behavior they need to have. So I think taking the time and being, taking the initiative to communicate well, what we expect from them helps us to have a better relationship in the family.
That's good stuff, no? So from what you said, what I picked up really is on the it's never too early to start the goal setting. So even if you've had, these kids who are barely out of their toddler years, you're already starting them on their on proper goal setting. I like what Tata mentioned also on, providing a visual or concrete examples of how you can give your life lessons, and especially these lessons being rooted in sports. Super nice example that you mentioned there, especially when it comes to lending life lessons like values, and most importantly, as mentioned, it's never too early to communicate with clear with clarity, right? So I love how you're bringing the coaching aspect to your home. Now speaking of clarity in communication, when it comes to disciplining the kids, how do you handle that?
Discipline can be tough. It might be. She says it's my forte, but one of my biggest weaknesses. Yet it's maybe a strength at times. I really feel like it's my strength when I allow God to lead, and when I go to Him to help Him give me patience and to help give me love towards my kids. Because a lot of times kids act and behave in ways that you don't appreciate. And that happens in this family a lot. We're no different than anybody else's family. And when that happens, if I can respond in love and discipline and love, then I know I'm doing my job. Just tonight, a few hours ago, we were reading, our Bible story before going to bed. We try to do that every night. And my second daughter, who's almost 5, she interrupted me twice during the reading. It's just 2 pages. It takes 5-6 minutes, not very long. So the first 2 times she asked to she stopped interrupting me to ask me a question. I said, no, Carrie, you have to wait. Wait until I'm done reading the story. Well, a minute later, I have 1 paragraph left and she interrupted me again. Dada, she just sang my name. And so I got a marker in the book. I closed the book. I knew where we were at. I left my 3-year-old and 7-year-old on the sofa, and I took my second child into the laundry room, and I sat her down. And sometimes we go in there for spankings. It happens. Most of the time, it's just a conversation. And so we go in there and I have a conversation. I have her attention because she knows that when we go in there, it's business. We're going to communicate, and it's a hard issue. We need to talk about it. And so, I reminded her what I had asked her to do. And I said, you didn't obey, did you? And so she's looking at me in the eyes, and she doesn't know if a spanking's coming or if it's just a lecture, but I have her attention, and we're able to talk about what I didn't appreciate. And, it might it just ends up being a timeout. She has to sit in there and think about it. But I think just disciplining by communicating, taking away something that they like, whether it's a certain amount of time with a toy, whether it's playing with a sister, whether it's not being able to, go out to the playground when her sisters go, taking away those things so that they understand there's consequences for their actions. And but really just disciplining takes love and patience, and that can be hard to achieve at times, but I try to do my best.
And if there's one thing that I've learned from older parents who've had so much more experience than we have, is that whenever we discipline, there should be so much more love afterwards. The amount of time that we're either criticizing our children or telling them what they did wrong should be minimal, and the amount of time that we're not praising, but the amount of time we're trying to reassure them of how they can be better and that they are loved should be much more, so that they don't come running to us and see us, or they don't come running away from us and just see us as disciplinarians. Like, they should know at the end of the disciplining session that we love them. And I think that's something that isn't easy. And another thing is that we're not perfect, and communicating that with our children, that we aren't perfect parents, that we are also learning how to be good mamas and dadas, is something that we should also express to our kids, so they know that, yeah, we're people too. We're just like them. We're imperfect human beings. That we're trying our best to show them that we love them, and that when we do show them that we love them, that, sorry, I'm going to repeat that. When we show, when we discipline them, it's because we care about them, right? It's to show that we do want them to be better people.
That's great, guys. So from what I heard, it's really all about, involving the kids in the process of trying to get the right or desired behavior out of them. And you guys are doing that with, as you had mentioned, discipline and love in the process. Totally like that, especially the point on where you mentioned that you do mention to them that you're not perfect parents, and you're also growing at the same time and learning from them as you go along. Super solid advice, especially on the part of having safe spaces for conversations, like that laundry room that you mentioned. It's something that's I think I can do also at home. That's what I like about that particular tip that you guys gave there. Now, when it comes to, so that's the disciplining bit, but how is encouragement done in your household?
An example would be our scoreboard. We got this idea from our good friends who are back in America now, but they were so tired of hearing their kids, when can we play video games? When can we play video games? And obviously, as parents, we don't want too much screen time for our children, right? And so they created this scoreboard. They actually just used a glass window and had a whiteboard marker on it, and every kid had points under it. So we incorporated this also in our home, where if they were to do certain things, they'd get points. And when they reach 100, they get a reward. So as for our friend, as our friends did their reward, it was they automatically got video game time. Ours is something we asked our kids, like, what would you want? And then we actually try to encourage them that it's not a material thing that they get, whether it's a play date, time with friends outside, sometimes ice cream and material things, but very rare. So it's actually, we get two things out of it: positive behavior, and then they also, their reward isn't always material things, which teaches them that being rewarded with like good quality time and experiences is also rewarding.
Yeah, so for me, when it comes to encouraging the kids, it's I want them to know that whatever they're doing, I'm going to be proud of them, no matter how much success they have. So even in something that they fail in, as long as they're giving that attitude of working hard and doing their best, then I'm going to appreciate that. And my oldest daughter, she loves to look forward to track and field day. And when they do their sprint races, she might be in the middle of the pack and even further back. She's not one of the fastest runners or sprinters. That's not her strength. And she's younger. Her age is a little bit younger in her class. And so other kids have matured faster, and being able to give her a big hug and tell her, you did awesome. You did so well. I'm so proud of you. After that is great. And I think that can encourage her that she can try more and more things that she doesn't have to be the best at, but she can still enjoy those avenues of life. You don't always have to be the best in order to enjoy it. And sometimes, winning isn't defined by who ends up first, but being able to learn from the experience and enjoy the experience and enjoy others through it is oftentimes just as rewarding as ending up first place.
I'm off the sports example, more of bringing it closer to home, and so parents can also get like an idea of, like, let's say I'm going to use reading as an example. Our daughter is actually very afraid to fail in reading. She doesn't enjoy it because my boo boo, as a mom, in the beginning stages of teaching her how to read at home, I was very stern and almost like, do it again, or come on, like I was using the wrong words. And so this guy, again, my teammate, reminds me that we have to remain encouraging. And also her teacher reminds us as parents, for a kid to be successful at a skill, you have to make it fun for them. And you have to make them understand that it's okay to fail. Therefore, the words that we use are very critical in someone's learning experience. So that again is something I'm personally learning, is how to encourage as they're struggling, or how to encourage using the right words as they're having a hard time. Because I know there's so many parents out there who are perfectionists, or who want things done like right away or done perfectly. So yeah, we have to really understand that these children are learning on a much slower pace.
I love it. So it talks about the importance of intentionality in the approach, right? So how you said it yourself, using the right words, Kirk saying being constructive, appreciating or putting value more on the effort versus the outcome, being constructive during the disciplining process, and then even in reinforcement. But the tip that I love the most was the tip on the scoreboard, right? You totally flipped it on this idea on reinforcement on its head, right? So now the kids are more interested in like getting more points out of this, this system that you have. So much so that they're doing your work for you. You don't have to discipline them. It's them trying to make as many gamifying basically the learning process at home. Super solid advice right there.
You got that right, Robbie. I really like the idea how Kirk and Tata actually put emphasis on the importance of what will help their children when they make their children feel better so they can do better. So it's not really spoiling them or patronizing them. So it's actually making them feel better so they can process things. I feel that this is exactly what the goal of Tata and Kirk when they employ, say, the laundry room. So it's actually considered a positive discipline. So instead of using punishment, which is we all know is less effective, positive discipline is being used, and based on evidence, it's actually more effective because for punishment, it's only temporary. So what's happening in positive discipline, really, you are actually teaching kids expectations and accountability. So it will help their kids they make their kids realize that there's actually a connection when they do something and what will happen next. Okay, so these strategies that they are employing actually will somehow build a trusting relationship between the children and the parents. So you can actually they're doing it, so they're using the strategies to reinforce new skills. So what's happening here, once you understand why your child behaved in a certain way, in the next time this happens, you can actually respond more effectively. So you can actually teach them what better behavior that can be expected next time. So you can see that challenging behaviors can actually happen for many reasons. One, if say they want to get attention, if they want others, parang they lack the communicative skills to express it, or others is actually behaving in such a way to avoid the situation. So as a parent, you actually take time to communicate and hear out what your kids, and then at the next time this happens, you have an idea what to do next already. So in our practice, this is what we actually know, teach as the ABCs of behavior. When we say ABCs, A being the antecedent. So when we say antecedent, it is what happened before the behavior. And then B for behavior, so what you observe. So either the child cried or the child hit. And then C is what you did after the behavior. So either you spanked him or you talked to him. So now that you understand why the behavior happened, then maybe next time you would actually modify the antecedents. So, for example, if the trigger was she couldn't understand the math problems, she was struggling with reading, then you will do something already with the A before the behavior happens, the bad behavior. Okay, so at the same time, you will can avoid the negative consequence of getting frustrated, getting, for example, or punishing them or spanking, right? And another positive parenting strategies that they actually are using is the use of scoreboards, which, time and time again have proven that how effective this is, because the feedback is immediate. So your children can look or see right away if they are reaching their goals. And another thing is their expectations are being clear, because sa charts it will be mentioned there what are the things that they're expected to do. So in return, motivation is increased because the children will respond better when anticipating a reward as opposed to getting a punishment or losing privilege. And I like it that Tata mentioned that really it doesn't have to be material things. Okay, so I think it will be better if it's as simple as, say, more time with dad and mom, more playtime, or simple hugs and kisses. So they're very impressive, guys.
Very impressive indeed, Doc. And I must say, guys, Kirk and Tata, I'm kind of learning a lot here also. Especially two things, right? You mentioned about discipline. When you discipline, there should be more love after the fact, after you discipline your kids. Tata, you mentioned that, of course, we all fall short of being perfectionists ourselves, whenever we teach our kids, especially with school. Just this morning, just teaching my son math, and that really didn't turn out too good. But yeah, a little encouragement should be needed. And gotta admire Kirk for the whole disciplining responsibility, knowing that we all fall into this whole daddy's girl issue, right? And it's times 3, times 4 for you, man. It's I just admire how you do it. With my daughter, what's this? Can't really get mad, but I guess we just have to learn how to approach it in a different way. But yeah, very good insights. I hope the viewers are also learning as well. Now, I really want to shift over now and talk about, about sports in general, and, what role does sports play in your family, as parents and in raising kids?
I think really, I think for, we've mentioned some already of lessons that are learned by playing, but just the hard work that goes into wanting to be good. And I'm thankful that my oldest daughter, she has a desire that she wants to be her best in whatever she's doing. She's a competitive kid, that's why she cries if I come home and before and told her that the team I'm coaching lost, like she gets emotional, and I enjoy that passion she has for wanting to be great. So just seeing them work hard is I think super important. And through sports, you can say if you want to play sports and you want to do well, then you do have to work hard. I also think that teamwork is a big thing, and teamwork is important in a lot of areas in life, definitely in sports, and even in our family, it's important. When we go to the grocery store, sometimes, especially when my wife was pregnant the last few months before she gave birth, I would take my 3 other daughters to the grocery store, and we would go to Costco, which is sort of like an S&R or a Shopwise in the Philippines, big store, and we would try to load up for the month's grocery when we go there. And I have 3 other daughters who are with me, and it's teamwork. Who's going to grab this? And we got to stay on track, work together, and there's teamwork in sports, and I think that translates in a lot of different areas in life. What do you have to add?
I will bring it back to even just in my own home growing up a little bit. I have a dad that was or still is pretty good in golf, and we have a den, like a den, a living room area where there's a ton of trophies. And it didn't really dawn on me until later on when I was playing sports competitively on how much those trophies meant. Because, I was the only girl at home. I have 3 older brothers and I was much younger. So none of that was really exposed to me because my brothers were out by the time I started playing. So as I started playing sports, I then realized, wow, these are a ton of trophies. And I can't imagine how much work was put into winning them. Like, how much practice did my dad do to win all these trophies? It started allowing me to break down the importance of commitment, the importance of hard work, the importance of sacrifice that he put into getting all of this. And again, we're going to go back to what we've said again and again earlier, how it's not really the trophy, or it's not really the, how do you say, the achievement, but for us, really the journey. And having seen that in my own dad, even if it was a bit late in my life, and then having seen it in my husband, with how much Ateneo Blue Eagle, how much this team of his practice and the time it demanded from him, it's just amazing how much hard work is put into sports, and that when you are passionate about something, it's really worth it. You almost don't feel how hard it is because you love it so much, right? That's another thing I wanted to kind of bring in. And what does this all say about raising our kids, or how do we bring all those realizations into raising our children? Now, it gives us so much, I don't know, wisdom. I feel like it gives, even as a young couple, it brings us so much wisdom to our home, and that we're able to bring in so many stories that our kids will be super interested in listening to, because they're able to really see and how do you say it, relate, I guess, to what we're trying to impart in their lives. And I just find it so cool that we're able to have that richness, because we're able to bring that into our children's life as they get older.
I like that. Hard work, passion, commitment, sacrifice, this whole discipline, which you guys have an edge, being athletes, that you guys are able to learn all throughout your sporting journey, and now taking it outside of sports and into the home, into your work, into your career. So it just really all works out. And and these are the values that actually completes a person, right? And to be able to move, or to be able to live, and actually to motivate others, in your case, your kids, to be like you. So these are important values that we should own and we should actually develop. Now, I'd like to talk about your accomplishments in your respective sports. So you, Kirk, achieving greatness in UAAP basketball. Tata with your UAAP football and the Malditas. Do you, or will you, encourage your kids to follow in your footsteps? That one day the plan is to get to see a new generation of Longs actually on the hard court and on the pitch. So what are your thoughts on this one? Be honest.
I think for me, I definitely want to expose them to what I love and what I'm passionate about. And I think so far our kids have seen the passion we have for it, and the fire and commitment and the love that it brings us when she's out there kicking the soccer ball around and coaching soccer, and when I'm on the basketball court. They still see me set a time aside for my physical and mental health to go out and enjoy playing. And I think that sparks, that catches their attention, and they also want to enjoy that. So Sunday mornings, normally it's 2-on-2, full court in the gym, 94 feet, me and my 3-year-old versus my 5 and 7-year-old. And I'm there because we wake up Sunday morning and we go to church in the afternoon. So we have all morning. They ask to go to the gym. They want to do other things there too, and get the dodgeballs out and hula hoops, jump rope. But they ask, hey, 2-on-2, Dada, me and Care versus you. That's what my oldest will say. And I'll say, okay, let's warm up first. We all got to make 20 shots first before we play. That's what we do. And they see my team warm up first, so they know that's a thing. So I'm making them, I am doing some hidden things there to sort of spark that fire in them so that they will also enjoy what I enjoyed. But at the same time, if you ask them what their favorite thing is, it's gymnastics. And I did my first cartwheel at the age of 32 years old, and so I am completely fine if they want to take these values that they learn are in our home and the hard work and commitment. And if they want to go do something else, music or drama, then I will still be just as proud of them doing something else than seeing them on the basketball court. I think our relationship could go deeper and our experiences could be richer if they play basketball and I can coach them and mentor them. So I do hope so someday. And I have dreams of, who knows, maybe moving back to Manila and helping coach the women's university girls team. If I have no idea what path they'll take, but if that's the path, then that sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, I think just to add on to what he said, I think I've given Kirk a little bit of an idea of what our kids love. And I say one loves music a lot more than I expected her to. One loves, whether it's singing, gymnastics or something. As I said, it might not be what we expect it to be, but they will carry with them the values, because all of those things, whatever naman whether it's being a politician one day, a lawyer, a doctor, all of those carry on similar sets of values, right? And that for us would be our goal, that they have those behaviors or attitudes or characteristics that involve, again, commitment, hard work, perseverance, all that. And that's the beauty of sports. You really can apply it in so many aspects of life. Off the record, even in giving birth, I say it's just one day of conditioning. I told myself that,
That's great. Totally spot on, right? So I think the lesson learned here is really there's no pressure on what path they choose. As long as they do what they enjoy, and of course the effort that they put in, right? And it's like what you said, Tata. It's everything that you do that you're passionate about. There's always value formation that's involved there. So that's the one thing that's very important. So I like that. So my last question is, how do you pass on these teachings or this love for sport to your kids, right? I mean, what is your advice, to the viewers out there, especially the parents, especially the parents who are not as athletic or who hasn't gone to that athletic journey as what you guys did? What is your advice to them in encouraging their kids to keep pursuing their dreams?
I think it's a great thing to be present. I mean, we all have seen young kids say, mama, dada, watch, and if you do actually watch and you pay attention and you praise them for trying new things or going and doing a cartwheel or a somersault, giving them that attention, showing them that you're interested in it also, I think that helps. I also think being a role model in that way, when my kids got into gymnastics, I tried to find a similar passion for it like they did. It didn't maybe match their enthusiasm for it, but like I said a few minutes ago, I also tried to learn how to do a cartwheel. I watched some YouTube instructional videos. So I wanted to help give them a platform to go out and do what they love doing. And, that can't always happen. Sometimes you have to, think about time management. We're a family with 4. So if all 4 of them pick different passions, sometimes that can be hard to do, or financially it can be hard to send them to all the classes that they would love to go to. But, you plan it out and you do your best with it. And, you support them every bit of the way, and you give them as many pats on the back and as many great jobs as you can. And I think that praise and encouragement can go a long way to allowing them to stay active, try new things, and enjoy being active for the rest of their life.
I would say, to add to him, would be resilient also as parents. Why resiliency? It's because you're never gonna know what exactly you're going to get from your children. There will be days where they're going to want to give up. There will be days where they're going to feel bored with something you've enrolled them in. Sometimes afraid. So being ready and resilient for whatever reaction they're going to give you is very important. But at the same time, even being flexible and trying to adjust to their behaviors and making sure we understand where they're coming from and whether they want to continue this sport or continue this class or not. We also have to go back to that value of finishing what you started. Why? Because as coaches, for example, there are times where I want to pull out a player, right? After like 5 minutes, because I feel like he or she is not effective. But then my assistant coach will say, give him a little bit more time. I think there's so much richness in that, where sometimes it takes 10 minutes for an athlete to warm up and get that groove and show what they have, right? And that's the same thing with our children. When you allow them to grow in something and instilling that start what you finish aspect allows them to, okay, get a hang of something before they actually decide they actually want to quit. So I think there's so much value in that.
That's great. I mean, yeah, the whole, again, modeling, being a role model, and at the same time, just being there in their journey through ups and the downs, right? Because again, what you said, right? They'd want to enjoy the sport, and on one day they'll be like, I don't want to play this sport anymore. So it's just it's more of like having that conversation of, really finishing what you started, is what you said, right? And that's what's important. So, and of course, giving your kids or giving your players a chance to really, how do you say, instead of jumping the gun, right? It's just really more, okay, give him a chance. Maybe he's just having a bad day that means he needs to step it up, right? Or parang diesel, di ba? Diesel lang yan, di ba? Kailangan mo stop. So yeah, so I think that's a very important advice for parents. So to just be there in the journey, to try and learn, what they want, what the kids are passionate about. Just what you said, Kirk, with your cartwheels. so this is something that our viewers and our parents will actually learn from. So I like it. So it's great.
Agree, no, really. So anyone who has actually participated in sports recognize how sports can positively impact one's life. So in our first episode, I stressed about the importance of sports on its role in physical health. But I want to point out as well, after hearing Kirk and Tata say their piece, that the value of sports in their parenting is actually seems to be promoting the psychological well-being and emotional development of their kids as well. As a matter of fact, no, studies would show that for individuals who got into sports early on are likely to have better mood and perceptions of themselves. They are likely to feel more competent, experience better psychological well-being, being able to control their own behavior, develop more positive skills, at the same time have greater life satisfaction. So just imagine how kids learn to do all these things. So it's just through sports. So because in sports, as early as now, they learn to do turn takings, they learn to cooperate, they learn what teamwork is. They can control their feelings when they lose, or at the same time, you recognize your strength or your own weakness, and then you learn how to win, how to lose graciously. And so these are a lot of lessons that sports can teach in building a healthy social emotional development of a child. And again, I can't overemphasize the role modeling. So again, it seems to be a key factor, similarly to the Lizardo. So again, I want to reiterate modeling theory. So again, it emphasizes on the importance of observation and imitation that takes place from an individual's perspective through the characters portrayed by their environment, and how it brings a change when it comes to their behavior, their knowledge, attitudes, and values. So the imitation, of course, will likely happen if the model holds an admired status or someone up there, okay? So the imitated behavior is gradually reinforced and the individual identifies with the model. So who better than these children can identify with, but definitely the parents.
So thanks, Doc Shows, for sharing all your insights on what Kirk and Tata have shared with us today. And so we've learned so much from what Kirk and Tata have shared. And I personally don't have kids yet, unlike everyone else in the room now, but I'm getting some great tips I can use as a coach. But now, if you were to summarize, what can we learn from your journey so far on how to raise a champion?
I think you just have to give a championship effort each and every day. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. Championship teams, it takes time to foster that culture, and you have to figure out, what values do you want to instill in your house, and how are you going to be able to sustain the energy and the effort, and how are you going to be able to communicate those values so that your family can all move to whatever your goals are or your values are together. And it's been a learning process, most definitely. So you have to keep an open mind. You have to be able to be humble and admit when you make mistakes or you go off the path. You have to be humble to take advice from others that are maybe more experienced or have wisdom to share. But you really just got to be patient with each other. I think for my wife and I, having a foundation, our faith in God even is a huge part of our family and helping us be successful and individually and working together to inspire our kids to want to be the best family that we can be.
Yeah, and a short addition to that is lead by example. I think that is very important. We don't just talk. We have to really walk our talk with our children.
And there you have it, the long tips on how to raise a champion. But allow me to recap what we've gotten from what you've shared so far into 3 tips. First is teach children to start what they finish, but ground the teaching in values like hard work and putting in the effort, and also by being mindful of their age and individuality or personality. And number 2, get your kids involved in everything. Set goals together, take the time, and create the safe space needed to communicate clearly what's expected of them. And encourage or reinforce behaviors using what's called as positive discipline, like utilizing scorecards and being mindful of the words you use. And number 3, get your family into sports because it's a great medium to learn different values like working hard, working as a team, and appreciating the process, and having the discipline to do what needs to be done, all of which can be used beyond the sport. So now it's time for our next segment that we call Crunch Time. All right, so Tata and Kirk, we're gonna throw you some questions and you're gonna have to answer them as fast as you can. There's no need to explain unless we can't help but ask. Are you guys ready?
Let's go for it.
All right. Okay, first question is, who is the better athlete?
Kirk. Duh.
Next, who's most likely to skip training?
Me.
Tata.
Okay. Who is more injury prone?
Kirk.
Really?
Who is most likely to be a brand ambassador?
Tata.
Kirk.
Who is most likely to stay in bed all day?
Me. No?
I love sleep, but Tata.
Who is most likely to binge on junk food?
Both of us.
Kirk. I know I do.
Who snores in their sleep?
Sometimes I don't. He does.
Who is most likely to get jealous over something silly?
Tata.
Who is most likely to forget an anniversary?
Kirk.
Kirk.
Who is most likely to prepare a romantic date?
Me.
Tata.
Who is most likely to win every argument?
Tata.
Even if I'm wrong.
Who's most likely to miss their partner?
Kirk.
No.
No, I don't.
Me.
Who is most likely to yell at their partner?
Me.
Tata.
Who is most likely to say I love you first?
Kirk.
Now that we're married.
Who is most likely to be the stage parent?
What?
Kirk. I could do that.
Who's most likely to be the parent coach?
Him.
Kirk.
Who is most likely to make up cute nicknames for the kids?
Tata.
Okay.
Who's most likely to spoil the kids?
Kirk.
Kirk.
Who is most likely to discipline the kids?
Kirk.
And last but not the least, what's the family motto?
Love one another.
Love one another. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so cute. Okay.
We try.
All right, guys, crunch time is done. Thank you so much, Kirk and Tata, for sharing your experience and time with us and for being super game to answer all our questions today. And now we've come to the end of the episode for our final messages. So, Doc Chobes, Relly, and Robbie, let's share with our teammates what we have in store for them in our next episode.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, especially to Kirk and Tata. Really enjoyed bantering with you guys. And again, let's follow their example in when it comes to parenting. Again, I would like to promote our upcoming webinar congress this coming June 19. So if you want to know more about how to raise up kids in terms of their development, physically, emotionally, academically, try to tune in and join our congress this June 19, and it will be a whole day. Learning. Okay.
Thanks, Doc. So there you have it, folks. On behalf of the Gold Diggers, I would like to thank you and, of course, the Longs for joining us tonight. Please do share your thoughts with us on our Facebook page and tag the Gold Diggers PH. Or you can post or comment on our video uploads on Facebook and YouTube. We'd really love to hear from you guys. Again, our Facebook page is the Gold Diggers PH. If you haven't liked or followed us, click that button and continue to dig in with us. Tune in next week and catch our third episode on Raising a Champion as we feature another former Blue Eagle and Ginebra Gin King, Vince the Prince Hizon, and the first ever female basketball TV and radio anchor in the country and media executive, Patricia Bermudez Hizon, on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Got any questions for the Hizons? Hit us up on our Facebook page. See you guys. Robbie?
Thanks, Relly. So lots of examples and memories shared here tonight by Kirk and Tata. And we really see the passion that you both have, no, for sports and most especially for parenting. So your mutual sports-filled life and parenting journey so far is one to emulate. And we thank you so much for the time, the wisdom, the experience that you shared with us and the rest of our listeners. Thanks to you guys, there's a lot that we can learn from sports and especially in raising a champion. So thank you very much. So teammates, check out our inaugural Sports Events Essentials episodes that we've posted on our social media pages, which is part of our ambitious mission to help uplift and progress Philippine sports by providing training and support through the Gold Diggers' podcasts and coming soon, our learning series. Please check our Facebook page out for more details on our Sports Events Essentials virtual learning sessions and see how you can participate in the program. Lastly, and once again, let's continue the fundraising for our advocacy pitch and PH. Let's continue helping out our fellow Filipinos who are in most need. Please follow our Facebook page for more details on how you too can learn how to pitch in for PH. So finally, over to the couple of the hour. Kirk and Tata, your final message for the episode, please.
Hey, thank you so much, Gold Diggers, for having us. I think it's so important in life to learn from one another. So I think there's so much we can learn from the other episodes you guys have had. I hope that people can take away something from us today. But, you know, in sports and in life and parenting, you just want to keep on growing and keep improving and try to get better every day. So that's just what I'd like to leave people with.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Even as we are doing this show, we also are learning from one another, and I really look forward to all the other episodes that are coming your way. Um, there's so much richness in sports, and I really do encourage every parent out there to give it a go or give it a try, because you will really not regret involving your children in sports.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
Again,
you.
we're very grateful to have you and to be able to pick your brain today. So we hope everyone else enjoyed this episode with Tata and Kirk Long on how to raise a champion. And that ends our session for today. Catch you in the next episode of The Gold Diggers. Remember to dream, dig in, and win. Take care and see you.